All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to the show. Brushing up with Shaun here. How'd you guys do on your clouds? Do you guys do pretty good? You figure it out as you go along. You know, you just practice and practice and practice. In fact, we're going to keep working on our clouds today. All right. What I did was actually kind of take my 16 by 20 canvas right here and pre-prepped it for you just to kind of let it dry off a little bit. We did that same gradient effect with the blue, light blue, and eventually even lighter blue. And if you watch those two first episodes, you'll know exactly how to do this. That back and forth motion, side to side, and you just drop it down with some little bit more mixture of white in there. So, but today is a graduation day for you because we are actually going to use a completely new color within our blue and white. We're actually adding black. So those are the three colors that you're going to need for today's painting. We're going to build a little bit more clouds, thunderheads with a little bit more moisture, that kind of effect in it. So grab a small, medium, large size brush. The large brush, you probably want to go that back and forth motion with this. And then I want you to switch over to your medium sized brush and we're going to start on these clouds here. So go ahead and grab your medium sized brush. Now you can do a flat brush like I'm going to use today, or you can use a round one for this. You can practice with both, but feel free to use whatever you'd like and whatever you're getting the hang of. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of go ahead and you see I've got my blue, my white, and my black over here. I'm going to go ahead and mix in a little bit of blue into this white right here. All right, just a little bit of blue into white, and that's going to saturate that white really quickly. Now I still want some of my available original white right there. You can see I've just got that nice bit of blue and white. It's kind of a powdery light blue. Now the different step here that we're going to do here is we're actually going to take just a tiny bit of this black, a little bit on the corner there, and mix it in to this light blue. And it's going to dull it out just a little bit. But what it does is it gives the effect that there's some moisture actually in our clouds here. And you'll see what I mean as we progress. So now you're mixing your colors, you're learning techniques, and here we go. We're about ready to start here. So with your brush, your medium-sized brush, take that paint that's still on there, it's okay. And we're not going to do that back and forth technique that we started with. We're actually going to go ahead and start doing kind of a little bit of a circular motion here. Now as you bring your circular motion, you can kind of go up and down and all around. And again, the same principle applies. Try to extend as much paint off of your brush without putting any more paint on it. So you can see we kind of started in the middle here. And it's okay if you start a little up top. In fact, here, I'll put some up top up here. Don't worry, you didn't mess up. Again, these classes are designed to, get the basics started. We can mess up. We are going to mess up together. And that's what's kind of cool about doing these nature scapes here is we can mess up. But you can see all I'm doing is just kind of in a circular motion. I still haven't put any fresh paint on my brush, and I'm extending this paint as far as I can go and doing that kind of dabbing motion. I'm turning the brush too as I'm going back and forth and side to side and twirling and swirling this brush all around. You can see by taking some of this paint down here, I've kind of started with the tops of the clouds and just tapered down, but what that does is you can see those clouds in front of these back clouds back here. In fact, if you want, we can even put some more up here. Now I'm finally actually adding a little bit more paint on my brush here, and I'm going to make a real big thunderhead right here. You can see the tops of these are a little bit more rounded off. Lots of textures going on right now. You can see we're just going to do this real fast here. You can see these clouds starting to form. You just get a feel for what you like seeing your clouds do on here. What you don't want is make those obvious kind of like cartoony clouds and make them all super puffy and whatnot. Don't make everything all symmetrical either. Stay away from that because that's going to look a little cartoony. You want to make it a little bit more realistic here. All right, so check that out. So you can see some clouds are forming, some thunderheads are forming. Now, these are some kind of back clouds here. What I'm going to do now, the next step, is I'm going to darken this up quite a bit. I'm going to make some really close thunderclouds. So I'm going to add a little bit more black and mix it into some more of that light blue. Now it already had a little bit of that enriched blue, gray kind of feel, but now it's going to be a lot darker. Okay, now don't overpower, don't put too much black in there because that black will saturate that real quick. All right, but check out this, what this does right here. This changes that thunderhead quite a bit. In fact, it is pretty dark. I mean, that's going to look like that's going to dump a ton of rain on here. And then this is what I mean by like getting a feel for how your paint works and your technique. You can see if you're like, hey, you know, this is a little bit too dark for me, just put a little bit of white on your brush, mix it in there, and that lightens that darkness up quite a bit, you can see. You're going to become a little bit of an expert on mixing colors, mixing your paints. Again, we're using just basic, simple, not very expensive acrylic paint, all right? We don't need to get that really, really expensive stuff to make these things work. Now, eventually, later on the road, when we start getting really into our landscapes and whatnot, we'll start getting into a little bit more different kind of colors that you'll probably see on some other places. But right now we're going to stick with the basics: blue, white, black. And I didn't spend a ton of money doing this. In fact, even the canvas that I'm using, it was probably one of our previous paintings that I've done here and I've taught before. All I did was I put some gesso right on top of it, or you can even put plain white acrylic paint because it dries so quickly. You can actually use it as a primer. It's pretty sweet. But you can see now, check this out. You got some layers now. You got some different things happening here. I'm going to kind of taper this dark looking cloud out here. And boy, oh boy, does that add kind of a lot of different colors. You can see the vibes. You can see what's going on in this here. So what you want to do now is you've got your basic things down. You use your medium-sized brush. But if you want to, dunk that brush in some water in your water cup there and maybe switch to a little bit of a smaller brush. All right, so I've got my little bit smaller brush. I'm gonna head back to these clouds that we originally started with because they're already starting to dry on me. So that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and mix in blue and white and go back to that kind of powdery, real light color. I'm gonna take a little bit of that gray here and bring it up into that powdery light blue. There's not much. And I'm just going to test this color. I'm just going to test it on these clouds here just to see if it's highlighting. And yes, it is. Holy cow. All right, so I put a little bit of that blue and white together and I'm mixing. What I'm doing now is adding some of these dabs and highlights. I'm going to try just doing on the top left, gosh, of these clouds here. And you can see I'm just kind of bringing them in a little bit here, adding some kind of texture here and there. But what that does now is it gives the illusion that you have a lot more depth and some cool stuff going on in these clouds. You can even add some cool new clouds appearing within these clouds here. So check this out. Boom. Look at that highlight just popping off there. That's sweet. You guys got this. And I'm going to say it quite a bit on a lot of these shows. I truly believe that anyone can paint. All right? It just takes some practice. It takes a know-how. You're going to get used to some different techniques. In fact, there's so many ways that we can do this, but I'm going to teach you kind of the simple ways. We're going to get used to this paint. We're going to get used to how we make textures and how we add all this kind of depth and make it look a little bit more realistic. And it's not just clouds we're going to be working on. We're going to work on water. We're going to work on mountains, reflection. We're going to do so much. So just stay with me. And you can see I'm just at random, just breaking up these clouds here. You can see I'm even adding, if I want to add a little bit more down here, whatever. Nature's not perfect, and we're going to use that to our advantage, all right? So I'm still using that same blue and white. Same deal here. And as you're highlighting, you can see this one's kind of gotten a little bit darker. It's starting to soak into some of those darker clouds in the background there. It's starting to in that color. You can tell it's just kind of disappearing, but that's okay. That's going to add to a little bit more realism as we continue on. You can see I'm just adding some random texture here. Again, no perfection. I want to see some of those dark areas. I want to see some of the light areas popping up. In fact, here you can even add a little bit of a brighter white on your brush, and you can see, look how much brighter it gets. It looks like some kind of light is hitting, some light source is hitting this cloud here. It's really becoming like a pretty cool cloud up here. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more highlights just on the side here. And I'm going to continue some of those, just like it's random. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It all just kind of just depends on how you feel as an artist. And again, I'm doing this pretty quick right now, but this is how you do it. You know, you can really, if you want, you can delve in, you can take your time, do quite a bit of clouds. And this could take a while. You know, if you watch some other videos, they like time lapse it. I mean, they're working on it for a long time, and we're just doing it raw. We're just doing it like right in the get-go here. Boom. Yep. Lovely. Okay, and now I've got some of these distant clouds back here. It's got that gray effect in here, so I want to bring some of that white and blue down into my gray and highlight some of that down here. It's not quite as blue, it's not quite as bright, but it definitely adds like such a fun little characteristic here. Now you're starting to see some depth. You're starting to see a little bit of a difference here. In fact, you can even add some of this down here and bring it in to your bottom clouds here. Lots of textures. You know, those clouds aren't, you know, just plain gray or plain blue. They've got so much dimension to all these rain clouds here. In fact, I'm going to bring some of this gray up into here. And that's all you do, guys. You just play around with it, mess around. You can see that it just starts to form like lots of different textures, highlights. I'm just dabbing very lightly, and again, very important, taking most of that paint off of my brush before putting any more paint on there. All right, I want to go back up. I love doing highlights here. It just makes this awesome cloud pop off here. So I'm just going to go right back up here. I just put plain white on my brush. And you can switch, guys. You can switch brushes. If this one's not working for you, go switch over to a tiny brush. Go switch over, get a feel for all these different brushes. Try a round brush. You know, whatever works easiest for you. You're going to start getting a feel for it. You're going to figure it out. Boom. Oh, dang. This is becoming awesome. I just love when these highlights start popping out at you. All right. Boom. Keep that going. We'll reveal some answers to our raffle giveaway too. We had that last question on episode 2. And you know what? I'll just give it to you right now again. If I've got red, yellow, and blue, what kind of colors are those? Answer that on our Facebook. First 5 people will get raffle tickets in for a drawing for some prizes that we'll be handing out here too. You guys got this. See? Look at this. I'm just very at random. Again, here, I'll do that kind of funky thing where I just close my eyes. Here, I'm going to just put some clouds here in the middle. I'm going to close my eyes. Kind of do the motion that I'm getting used to. Pretty sure there's some highlights starting to pop up on these things. I think it turned out. If not, I'm going to fix it. Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit different there. So check this out. I want to just go with it. And I'm just going to add a new fun highlighted cloud right in there. Oh man, yeah, this is looking good. Okay, we've added, so we got our blues, our whites, but you can see it adds that new effect, that moisture in here. In fact, I'm going to add some white into this gray here that we made. And let's highlight